Commander Qrix-9 had always prided herself on being the most civilized being in the Terran integration zone. Her purple skin gleamed under the artificial lights of Station Gamma 7, and her 4 eyes blinked in perfect sequence as she reviewed the daily reports. Everything was running smoothly in her sector, thank the Great Void. The humans had been surprisingly manageable for the past 3 rotations. "Another peaceful day in paradise," she muttered to herself, adjusting her ornate uniform that displayed no fewer than 17 medals of bureaucratic excellence. The irony wasn't lost on her that she, a proud member of the Keltharian elite guard, had been reduced to babysitting a bunch of primitive bipedal mammals from some backwater planet called Earth. The comm unit on her desk crackled to life. "Commander, we have a situation in Sector 12 Alpha," came the nervous voice of Lieutenant Qrix-3, one of her subordinates. Qrix-9's eye stalks twitched with annoyance. "Define situation, Lieutenant. Did another human try to pet one of our security drones again? Because I swear by the eternal stars, if I have to explain one more time why our military equipment isn't a house pet." "No, Commander, well, there's been an incident involving a human juvenile and Officer Black 7. Now that got her attention. Qrix-9 straightened in her floating chair, her tentacle-like appendages drumming impatiently on the desk surface. "What kind of incident, Lieutenant? And please, tell me Black 7 didn't try to arrest another human for walking suspiciously." There was a pause on the other end, a long, uncomfortable pause that made Qrix-9's stomach acid bubble with dread. "Commander, Officer Black 7 struck a human child. A female, approximately 6 Terran years old. The child she was reaching for a toy that had rolled near his post." Qrix-9 felt all 4 of her hearts skip a beat simultaneously. In her 50 years of service to the Galactic Coalition, she had never heard a more terrifying combination of words. Human, child, struck. Those 3 words together were basically a recipe for galactic disaster. "Please tell me you're joking, Lieutenant. Please tell me this is some kind of elaborate prank that you and the other junior officers cooked up to give me a coronary episode." "I wish I was joking, Commander. The human child, her name is Lily Branson. She's currently in the medical bay. Black 7 used his neural stunner on her when she wouldn't stop crying after he pushed her away from his post." Qrix-9's vision went white for a moment. Neural stunners were designed for adult combatants, not tiny human offspring. The amount of damage such a device could do to a developing nervous system. She didn't want to think about it. "Where is Black 7 now?" she asked, her voice dropping to a dangerously low whisper. He's still at his post, Commander. He filed a report claiming the child was exhibiting suspicious behavior and potential terrorist reconnaissance activities." Commander Qrix-9 closed all 4 eyes and counted to 10 in 3 different languages. When that didn't help, she counted to 20. When that still didn't help, she seriously considered taking up drinking. "Lieutenant Qrix-3, I want you to listen to me very carefully. I want Officer Black 7 relieved of duty immediately. I want him confined to quarters. I want his weapons confiscated. And I want a full medical team working on that human child right now." "Already done, Commander. But there's more." Of course there was more. There was always more when humans were involved. "The child's parents have been notified. Her father is apparently something called a Marine Force Recon. Her mother is a Special Operations Engineer. And Commander, they're not taking this well." Qrix-9 felt a cold chill run down her spinal column. She had read the classified files on human military personnel. The things these creatures were capable of when properly motivated were the stuff of nightmares across 17 different star systems. "How not well are we talking about, Lieutenant?" "Well, the father, Tyler Branson, is currently in detention cell 7 after he attempted to, and I quote, rip Black 7's tentacles off and feed them to him backwards. The mother, Kate Branson, is with her daughter in the medical bay, but she keeps asking our medical staff very specific questions about Keltharian anatomy that I find concerning." This was rapidly becoming the worst day of Qrix-9's career. Scratch that. This was rapidly becoming the worst day of her entire existence. "Commander, there's something else you need to know. About 20 minutes ago, we intercepted a communication from the Branson family to Earth, specifically to something called the Terran Defense Network. Qrix-9's blood turned to ice water. The Terran Defense Network was humanity's military communications system. It was also, according to Coalition intelligence, the fastest way to turn a local incident into a galactic crisis. What did the message say? It was brief, Commander. Just coordinates, a situation code, and the words, "They hurt Lily." 3 words. Just 3 little words that somehow managed to sound more ominous than a declaration of interstellar war. Lieutenant, I want all non-essential personnel evacuated from this station immediately. I want our defensive systems brought online, and I want someone to explain to me how one of our officers managed to create what might be the single most diplomatically catastrophic incident in Coalition history. Actually, Commander, there's been a development. Long-range sensors are picking up something approaching from the direction of the Sol system. Define something. 12 ships, Commander. Human design. They're broadcasting on military frequencies, and they're coming in fast. Very fast. Qrix-9 stared at her view screen, which now displayed a tactical readout of the approaching vessels. 12 human warships moving at velocities that should have been impossible for their primitive technology. How long until they arrive? At their current speed? 4 hours, Commander. 4 hours. 4 hours to figure out how to explain to a species of barely civilized Deathworld predators why one of her officers had decided to assault their offspring. 4 hours to prepare for what was likely going to be the shortest diplomatic career in galactic history. Commander, incoming priority transmission from Galactic Command. Of course, because this day couldn't possibly get any worse. Put it through. The holographic form of Admiral Qrix-9 materialized above her desk, his ancient features twisted into an expression of barely controlled panic. Commander Qrix-9, please tell me that the reports I'm receiving are some kind of clerical error. Please tell me that one of your officers did not just declare war on the most dangerous species in the known galaxy by attacking their young. I wish I could, Admiral, but yes. Officer Black 7 struck a 6-year-old human female with a neural stunner. The child is currently receiving medical treatment. Admiral Qrix-9's eye stalks drooped visibly. Commander, do you have any idea what you've done? Do you understand the implications of this incident? I'm beginning to grasp them, yes, sir. Humans don't just love their offspring, Commander. They're biologically programmed to go absolutely insane when their young are threatened. We're talking about a species that once fought a 30-year war because someone shot their ambassador's pet. A pet, Commander. And now one of your officers has assaulted their child. Qrix-9 was starting to understand why so many Coalition officers requested transfers away from human-inhabited sectors. What are my orders, Admiral? Your orders are to keep that human child alive and healthy at all costs. Your orders are to make sure her parents don't do anything that will require us to glass your entire station from orbit. And your orders are to somehow, some way, prevent those 12 human warships from turning this into an interstellar incident. And if I can't? Admiral Qrix-9's image flickered as interference disrupted the transmission. Then, may the Great Void have mercy on us all, because the humans certainly won't. The transmission cut out, leaving Commander Qrix-9 alone with her thoughts and the steadily approaching human fleet. She pulled up the medical reports on young Lily Branson, hoping for some good news. The report made her feel even worse. Neural damage to the child's motor cortex, possible permanent impairment. The human medical staff was doing everything they could, but the prognosis was uncertain. Commander, Lieutenant Qrix-9's voice crackled over the comm again. The human ships have increased speed. They'll be here in 2 hours. 2 hours. 2 hours to figure out how to apologize to a species that had never met an enemy they couldn't kill, for hurting something they would literally die to protect. Commander Qrix-9 stood up from her chair and walked to the viewport that looked out over the station's docking bays. Somewhere in the medical wing below, a human child was fighting for her recovery. Somewhere in the detention cells, her father was probably planning 17 different ways to commit murder with his bare hands. And somewhere in the vast emptiness of space, 12 human warships were racing toward them, with intentions that were anything but peaceful. This is definitely not what they covered in officer training school, she muttered to herself. The comm unit buzzed again. Commander, we're receiving another transmission from the approaching human fleet. Put it through. A new voice filled her office, speaking in heavily accented Standard Galactic. The voice was calm, professional, and somehow more terrifying than if it had been screaming with rage. Station Gamma 7, this is Colonel Hawk Stone of the Terran Defense Force. We are responding to a distress call regarding an assault on a human civilian. You have 90 minutes to prepare a full briefing on this incident. We will be docking at your station whether you grant permission or not. Colonel Stone out. 90 minutes. Not 2 hours. 90 minutes. Commander Qrix-9 realized that her career was about to come to a very abrupt end. The question was whether she would survive long enough to update her resume. She walked back to her desk and activated the station-wide communication system. All personnel, this is Commander Qrix-9. We are about to receive visitors from the Terran Defense Force. I want everyone on their best behavior. I want every corridor spotless. I want every regulation followed to the letter. And I want everyone to remember that these visitors are here because we hurt one of their children. Act accordingly. She paused, looking out at the stars where 12 human warships were growing larger by the minute. And somebody find me the strongest antacid in our medical supplies. I have a feeling I'm going to need it. 20 minutes later, Commander Qrix-9 found herself in the medical bay, staring down at the smallest human she had ever seen. Little Lily Branson lay unconscious on the biobed, her tiny frame dwarfed by the massive medical equipment surrounding her. Monitoring devices beeped steadily, tracking her vital signs, while a team of both human and alien medical staff worked frantically around her. "How is she?" Qrix-9 asked Dr. Helix-9, the station's chief medical officer. The Altarian physician's tentacles writhed nervously as she consulted her datapad. "The neural stunner caused significant disruption to her developing nervous system, Commander. We're doing everything we can, but human children are remarkably fragile compared to most species." Standing beside the biobed was Kate Branson, the child's mother. Qrix-9 had expected screaming, threats, maybe even violence. Instead, she found a woman sitting perfectly still, holding her daughter's hand, her eyes never leaving the child's face. Somehow, this quiet intensity was far more frightening than any tantrum would have been. "Mrs. Branson," Qrix-9 began carefully, "I want you to know that we are doing everything possible for your daughter. Officer Black 7 has been confined, and a full investigation is underway." Kate Branson turned to look at her, and Qrix-9 immediately understood why humans had such a reputation throughout the galaxy. The woman's eyes held a cold fury that could have frozen plasma. "Commander," Kate said, her voice perfectly controlled, "I've been studying your species' anatomy for the past hour. Did you know that Keltharians have 17 major nerve clusters? And that 12 of them are easily accessible from the surface?" Dr. Helix-9's tentacles stopped writhing and went completely rigid. "Mrs. Branson," Qrix-9 said carefully, "I understand your anger, but—" "My anger?" Kate laughed, a sound that somehow managed to be more terrifying than any scream. "Commander, you have no idea what anger looks like yet. But you will." The medical bay's communication system crackled to life. "Commander Qrix-9 to Medical Bay 1 immediately. We have incoming transmissions." As Qrix-9 hurried back to her office, she passed the detention cells where Tyler Branson was being held. The human male was sitting calmly on his bunk, but when he saw her, he stood and walked to the force field barrier. "Commander," he said, his voice eerily calm, "I want you to understand something. My daughter is the most important thing in my universe. More important than peace treaties, more important than diplomatic relations, more important than this station or everyone on it. Mr. Branson, I assure you—" "No, let me finish." His eyes locked onto hers with unsettling intensity. "My wife and we've killed things that would give your nightmares nightmares. We've ended entire terrorist cells with nothing but field knives and bad attitudes. But we did all of that to protect innocence. To protect children like Lily." He stepped closer to the barrier, and Qrix-9 found herself taking an involuntary step backward. "So when my friends arrive, and they will arrive very soon, I want you to remember this conversation. Because they're going to ask me one simple question. Was justice served? And Commander, the answer to that question is going to determine whether your station still exists tomorrow morning." Back in her office, Lieutenant Vix-3 was waiting with a collection of data pads and expression of barely controlled panic. Commander, we've been monitoring human communication networks. The incident has reached Earth's military command. They've designated this as a Code Red, child endangerment scenario. What does that mean exactly? According to our intelligence files, it means that normal diplomatic protocols have been suspended. The approaching fleet has been given full tactical authority to resolve the situation as they see fit. Qrix-9 sank into her chair. Full tactical authority. Wonderful. Anything else? Yes, Commander. We've also detected 3 more human ships launching from the Luna shipyards. And there are reports of fleet movements from the Mars defense grid. How many ships total? Lieutenant Qrix-9 consulted his datapad. Current count is 27 vessels, Commander, with more launching every hour. 27 human warships. All because one overzealous security officer couldn't tell the difference between a terrorist and a 6-year-old girl reaching for her toy. Commander, the communications officer called out. Incoming. Priority message from the lead human vessel. Put it through. The holographic image that appeared above her desk showed a human male in military uniform. His face was scarred, his eyes were cold, and his expression suggested that he had seen more combat than most beings experienced in several lifetimes. Station Gamma 7, this is Colonel Stone. We'll be docking in 45 minutes. I want the officer responsible for this incident ready for transfer to human custody. I want the station's security footage of the incident. And I want a full medical briefing on the child's condition. Colonel Stone, with respect. Officer Black 7 is under coalition jurisdiction. We cannot simply— Commander, Colonel Stone interrupted, his voice carrying the kind of authority that had probably ended wars. Let me explain something to you. Right now, there are 63 million humans who have seen footage of your officer striking a human child. 63 million humans who are demanding justice. Now, you can hand over that officer to us, or you can explain to those 63 million humans why coalition jurisdiction is more important than the safety of their children. The transmission ended, leaving Commander Qrix-9 staring at empty air. 45 minutes until the humans arrived. 45 minutes to figure out how to prevent a diplomatic disaster that could spiral into interstellar war. She activated her personal communication device and sent an urgent message to Admiral Zix Prime. Request immediate backup. Situation deteriorating rapidly. Human fleet size now 27 vessels and growing. Recommend emergency evacuation protocols. The response came back almost immediately. Backup refused. Coalition Command has decided that Station Gamma 7 is expendable if it prevents wider conflict. You're on your own, Commander. Don't start a war. Commander Qrix-9 stared at the message for a long moment, then deleted it. Don't start a war, she muttered. Right, because that decision is totally up to me now. The docking clamps engaged with a sound that reminded Commander Qrix-9 of a tomb sealing shut. Through her office viewport, she watched as the lead human vessel, a massive destroyer named Righteous Fury, settled into the station's primary docking bay. The irony of the ship's name wasn't lost on her. Commander, they're requesting immediate access to all station levels, Lieutenant Qrix-9 reported, his voice barely above a whisper. They're not asking permission. They're informing us. Granted, Qrix-9 said, surprising herself with how steady her voice sounded. And, Lieutenant, make sure our people stay out of their way. The last thing we need is another incident. The first human through the airlock was Colonel Stone, and seeing him in person made Qrix-9 realize that holographic projections didn't do justice to just how intimidating these creatures could be. He was tall, even by human standards, with shoulders that could have supported a small shuttle. Behind him came a squad of human soldiers, all wearing armor that looked like it had seen actual combat. Commander Qrix-9, Colonel Stone said, his voice carrying easily across the docking bay. We need to talk. The meeting took place in Conference Room Alpha, chosen specifically because it was the largest room on the station. Even so, it felt cramped, with 12 heavily armed humans filling most of the available space. Commander Qrix-9 sat at one end of the table, flanked by her senior staff, trying very hard not to look as terrified as she felt. Let's start with the basics, Colonel Stone said, placing a data pad on the table. At 1347 station time, your officer Black 7 struck a 6-year-old human child with a neural stunner. The child, Lily Branson, suffered severe neurological trauma and is currently fighting for her life. Is this assessment accurate? Yes, Qrix-9 replied. because lying to these creatures seemed like a spectacularly bad idea. Good. Now, where is Officer Black 7? He's in detention cell 12, confined pending investigation. Colonel Stone turned to one of his subordinates, a woman whose armor bore the insignia of a combat medic. Captain Reeves, what's the latest on the child? Captain Reeves consulted her own datapad. Stable but critical, sir. The neural damage is extensive. Best case scenario, she'll need months of rehabilitation. Worst case... She didn't finish the sentence. The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. Commander, Colonel Stone continued, his voice taking on an edge that could have cut steel. I want you to understand something about human psychology. We don't just protect our young because it's biologically programmed. We protect them because they represent our future, our hope, our reason for existing. When someone hurts our children, we become something else entirely. Colonel, I understand your anger, but Officer Black 7 will face appropriate disciplinary action through coalition protocols. No. The word came from Captain Reeves, spoken with such finality that it seemed to echo in the sudden silence. No, he won't. Colonel Stone nodded slowly. You see, Commander, we've been monitoring coalition communications. We know that your superiors have written off this station. We know that they consider this entire incident an acceptable loss if it prevents a larger conflict. Qrix-9 felt her heart sink. Colonel, surely we can reach some kind of diplomatic solution. We already have, said a new voice from the doorway. Everyone turned to see Lily Branson entering the conference room, no longer in detention clothes, but wearing a human military uniform that Qrix-9 didn't recognize. Behind him walked his wife Kate, also in uniform, carrying a metallic case that radiated an aura of menace. Mr. Branson, Qrix-9 stammered. How did you get out of detention? Tyler smiled, and it was possibly the most frightening expression Qrix-9 had ever seen. Turns out that coalition detention cells weren't designed to hold someone with my particular skill set. Amazing what you can do with a dinner tray and some medical tubing. Kate Branson set her case on the table and opened it, revealing what looked like surgical instruments. Very sharp surgical instruments. We've reached a decision, she said calmly. Since coalition justice has failed, we're implementing human justice. What does that mean exactly? Lieutenant Qrix-9 asked, his voice cracking. Colonel Stone stood up, his massive frame casting a shadow across the entire table. It means that Officer Black 7 is coming with us. It means that he's going to face a human tribunal for assault on a human child, and it means that the verdict of that tribunal will be final. You can't just take him, Qrix-9 protested. There are laws, treaties, diplomatic protocols. Commander, Lily Branson interrupted, let me explain something to you about human law. When someone hurts our children, all other laws become suggestions. The comm system crackled to life. Commander Qrix-9, this is Dr. Helix-9 in medical. I need to speak with you immediately. It's about the child. Every human in the room went completely still. Put her through, Colonel Stone ordered, his voice carrying absolute authority despite being on an alien station. Dr. Helix-9's voice filled the room, trembling with emotion. Commander, there's been a development. The child, Lily Branson, she's awake, and she's asking for her parents. The change in the room's atmosphere was instantaneous. The rigid military bearing of the human soldiers softened slightly, and for a moment, they looked less like an invasion force and more like people. She's going to be okay? Kate Branson asked, her voice breaking slightly. The prognosis is much better than we initially thought, Dr. Helix-9 replied. Human neuroplasticity is remarkable. With proper treatment, she should make a full recovery. Lily Branson closed his eyes and took a deep breath. When he opened them again, some of the cold fury had been replaced by something that might have been relief. That changes things, Colonel Stone said quietly. But it doesn't change everything. Colonel, Commander Qrix-9 said carefully, surely this news affects your intentions regarding Officer Black 7? Commander, let me explain something about human justice, Colonel Stone replied. The fact that Lily is going to recover doesn't change the fact that your officer struck a child with a weapon. It doesn't change the fact that he could have killed her, And it certainly doesn't change the fact that he felt justified in doing so. Lily Branson snapped her case shut with a sound like a gunshot. The only thing that's changed is the method of justice. Black 7 is still coming with us. But instead of facing a military tribunal, he's going to face something much worse. What's worse than a military tribunal? Lieutenant Qrix-9 asked. Lily Branson smiled again, and this time it was even more terrifying because it was genuine. He's going to face human parents. Specifically, he's going to face every human parent who's seen the footage of what he did to our daughter. You see, Colonel Stone continued, this incident has been broadcast across the entire human communication network. Right now, there are billions of humans who know exactly what Officer Block 7 looks like, exactly what he did, and exactly where he can be found. Commander Qrix-9 felt a chill run down her spine. What are you saying? I'm saying that Officer Black 7 has become the most hunted being in human space, Lily Branson replied. I'm saying that every human colony, every human ship, every human outpost now considers him an enemy of our species. But that's a death sentence. Dr. Helix-9's voice came through the comm system. Yes, Colonel Stone confirmed. It is. The silence in the room stretched on for what felt like hours, but was probably only seconds. However, Lily Branson said finally, we're reasonable people. We're willing to offer Officer Black 7 a choice. What kind of choice? Qrix-9 asked. He can come with us voluntarily and face human justice in a controlled environment, Kate explained. Or he can try to hide somewhere in Coalition space and spend the rest of his life looking over his shoulder, wondering when a human bounty hunter is going to collect the price on his head. There's a bounty? Lieutenant Qrix-9 squeaked. Colonel Stone consulted his datapad. Current bounty is up to 47 million credits and rising. Apparently, humans take child abuse very seriously. Commander Qrix-9 stared at the humans around the table, trying to process what she was hearing. You're telling me that you've essentially declared open season on one of my officers. We're telling you that your officer declared war on human children, Lily Branson replied. We're just responding appropriately. The comm system activated again. Commander, this is Officer Black 7. I need to speak with you immediately. There are humans outside my cell, and they're asking me to come with them, voluntarily. Colonel Stone pressed a button on his communicator. Officer Black 7, this is Colonel Stone of the Terran Defense Force. You have 5 minutes to decide whether you're coming with us the easy way or the hard way. I demand to speak with Coalition authorities, came Black Saw's panicked voice. Officer, Lily Branson said, her voice carrying deadly calm. Coalition authorities abandoned this station 3 hours ago. You're talking to the only authorities that matter now. Commander Qrix-9, Black 7's voice cracked with desperation. Surely you can't allow this. Commander Qrix-9 looked around the room at the faces of the human soldiers. She saw no mercy there, no willingness to compromise, no hint that they were anything other than completely serious about their intentions. Officer Black 7, she said finally, I hereby release you from Coalition custody. Your fate is now in your own hands. Commander, you can't. The comm system went silent. Colonel Stone stood up, his mission apparently complete. Commander Qrix-9, it's been educational. We'll be departing in 1 hour, with or without Officer Black 7's cooperation. As the humans filed out of the conference room, Lily Branson paused at the doorway. Commander, I want you to understand something. This isn't about revenge. This is about making sure that no other Coalition officer ever thinks that hurting human children is acceptable. And if Officer Black 7 refuses to come with you, Tyler's smile returned, cold and predatory. Then he'll learn that humans have very long memories and very creative imaginations when it comes to justice. An hour later, Commander Qrix-9 stood in her office, watching through the viewport as the human fleet prepared to depart. Officer Black 7 had ultimately chosen to go with them, apparently deciding that facing human justice was preferable to spending the rest of his life as the galaxy's most wanted fugitive. The final image she had of the incident was of Colonel Stone carrying a small bundle in his arms as he boarded his ship. Little Lily Branson, awake and recovering, being reunited with her family. As the human ships pulled away from the station, Commander Qrix-9 received one final transmission from Colonel Stone. Commander, a word of advice. The next time one of your officers thinks about striking a human child, remind them of what happened to Black 7. Remind them that humans never forget, never forgive, and never stop protecting their young. The transmission ended, and Commander Qrix-9 was left alone with her thoughts and the growing realization that the galaxy had just learned a very important lesson about humanity. Some lines should never be crossed, and those who cross them learn that human justice, while delayed, is always delivered. In the depths of space, the human fleet disappeared into hyperspace, carrying with them Officer Black 7 and the promise that justice, human style, would be served. The war for human children had been won before it even began.